Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to ask you just for the part of the presentation, if you'll go ahead and mute, and then just unmute if you have a question. Mute so everyone can hear, just so there's no background noise on your mics. That will keep other people from hearing what's happening. But if you have a question, please don't hesitate to come on and ask, because that's the whole point. We're here to learn. So if something isn't clear, please let me know. So this is Your Heart, Your Journey, for learning how to shamanic journey, a heart-centered shamanic journey. And let me share the slides. Okay, can you guys see it? I know you're on mute now, so I can't hear you. So hold on one moment. I've lost, I don't know why sometimes I lose the other screen. So let me see if I can find you really quick. Zoom sometimes is a little frustrating. All right, well, I can't see you now. So if you do have a question, you're going to have to come off mute. And if you can't hear me, let me know. And otherwise, we're going to get started. So today we're going to talk about what is shamanism, because this is a shamanic journey. So understanding what shamanism is. We're going to talk about using the breath and the heart and how to get there, how to breathe properly to go into that state that we need to go into, and then connect with the heart. To talk about the light around you, which is really about protections, calling in your protections before you do a journey. And then we're going to talk about the altered states of consciousness. That is what the shamanic journey is all about. And then drumming and how it's used to get you to that state. And then direct revelation and why we do a shamanic journey. And then we're going to do a practicum, a practice of what it is to shamanic journey. So shamanism. So shamanism is a word actually that's from Siberia, and it was a name for the healers and the seers in those ancient cultures in Siberia. But shamanism as a spiritual practice for healing, for divination, for direct connection to the divine in all its forms, including nature, has been used all over the world, in Australia by the Aborigines, in Africa, in Northern Europe, of course, in the Americas, North and South Americas. Shamanism has been a way of life for many, many indigenous cultures all over the world. And it is a belief in the unseen world. It's a belief in everything in nature has spirit. Everything in nature is connected to the divine. It's all part of one energy that works in many different ways, whether it's through the plants and the trees, the water, the winds, the animals, and even us. That energy works in all ways, and it's a connection to that energy. And it is about being in right relationship with that. So if you watch the movie Avatar, and the way that the Na'vi people were blessing their food, you know, if they had to hunt, that they would thank the animal that they killed. And a lot of indigenous cultures would do that because they knew that that animal was sacrificing itself for their sustenance, for them to continue. And there was gratitude. So it was about being in right relationship with the water, with the air, with their food. And then it's also used as a healing modality, because when you have connection with the plants, you can ask the plants which ones are the ones to heal any type of health issue. And it's an ancient tradition and an access to personal power. So it being in right relationship with everything around you helps you to be in a place of power that allows you to live more fully, more open-hearted. And so that's what shamanism is. What it is not is a religion, and it's not a cult, and it's not satanic. It's very nature-based. It's very spiritual. It's not a fad or phenomena. It's been around, as I said, for eons. And it is not specific only to the North and South American tribes. It's been all over the world. And it's not for the faint of heart. And why do I say that? Well, shamanism, because you can tap into the unseen world, it's knowing that you're going into, it's just like going into the wilderness. You don't know what you're going to encounter. If you're going to encounter a bear or a mountain lion or a skunk, or squirrels and chipmunks, you can encounter things that are perfectly benevolent and lovely, and you can encounter things that are a little scary. But the thing about doing shamanic journey, and we'll talk about it later, I have a slide about it, all of that is for purpose and learning. And if you go into it knowing that, then you can really learn and grow through the process without being afraid. And so we'll talk more about that. But shamanism as a way of being in the world is a lot of practices and beliefs that are centered on this energy that's around us, that surrounds us, that moves through us, that animates us and animates all of the natural world. And these practices can be used for divination, for healing, direct revelation, and we'll talk about that, weather redirection. Camille and I have done a little bit of that. Communicating with your ancestors or anyone who's crossed over on the other side, it is a way to have direct connection, and of course communing and communicating with the natural world around us. So the breath and the heart are such an important component of any practice that where you're doing like meditation or things like that, to be able to use the breath to get into a state of relaxation. And then connecting to the heart sometimes gets left out of that because it's all about emptying the mind, but we're emptying the mind for a purpose, right? To be able to get in touch with how we feel. And that's all about the heart. Our feelings are the language of the heart. So we use the breath to reach the heart, because the breath and the heart are all in the heart chakra area, right? Your lungs, it's all right there. So as we bring in breath, we bring in prana or chi or ki or however you want to refer to it. It's life force energy with every breath. And if we know that with every breath, and we're consciously aware of it, that we're bringing in this energy, then it enervates us in a way that allows our body to be relaxed but alert, which is the perfect state to be in for a shamanic journey. Because unlike meditation or certain types of meditation, we're not trying to empty the mind or be without thought or let our thoughts go by. We're engaging our heart and our feelings, but also our imagination. And through doing this practice, getting in touch with the heart, like using the breath for this coherence between the heart, the breath, and our state of relaxation, we open up that when we're enervated, it actually opens up our subtle senses. So all of those senses like clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance. So claircognizance is clear knowing, clairvoyance is clear seeing, but it's seeing like through the same senses of when we dream, and we're seeing things through our dreams. Clairvoyance works through that same mechanism. Claircognizance is clear knowing, where you just know something and you don't know how you know it, but you know it. Clairsentience is you feel it. You feel somebody's emotion. It's kind of like empathy on steroids. And then there are different clairs. There's one for smelling and tasting. So it's using our physical senses, which are all geared towards this 3D world, but our subtle senses are then geared toward the other dimensions. So when we engage our heart and our breath, we're engaging our subtle senses that open us up to being able to perceive not just our 3D world, but the other dimensions around us that are available to us when we know how to access them. And journey is a way to access them. So breathing and getting into the heart brings the awareness in our body that we're connecting to all of these other senses. And it can instill a sense of peace, which is great, because to go into it in a relaxed state is wonderful, and it opens up the possibility to have a more profound journey, and I don't mean profound in like super mystical, but where you really get in touch with what it is that you're looking for. And we'll talk about that, the intention of when we go into a journey. And it also increases self-love because you're just centered in you, in your body, in your knowing, and you're in touch with those senses that let you know that you're a part of the whole system. So self-love increases as a result. So getting into the heart through the breath is such an important component. And that's why I named this Your Heart, Your Journey, because your feelings play into everything that we do. And getting in touch with them in a beautiful, centered way like this, it will just enhance everything that you do and all the direct connection that is possible through shamanic journey. It just enhances that and makes it more, not only more available, but more meaningful to you personally. Any questions on that? Okay. So getting into the heart, because the heart is a portal. And I did a class, I don't know, maybe it was a little over a year ago, that was all about the heart of discernment. And it was about getting into the heart and how do we do that? Because you'll hear again and again, you need to be in your heart, you need to get in your heart. And most people go, yeah, but how? I don't know how to do that. Well, the breath is a really good way to get there, because we can imagine following our breath, tracing our breath all the way down into our lungs where our heart portal is. But the other way that we get into the heart is we pay attention to what we're feeling. So unlike meditation, where you're wanting to empty your thoughts, when you do this practice to get into your feelings, you're really paying attention. What do I feel? What do I feel physically? But what do I feel emotionally? Am I scared? Am I at peace? Am I anxious? What am I feeling? And these are your feelings are the language of the heart. So if you really want to connect to your heart, you've got to learn the language. And that is just paying attention to our feelings, because in our Western culture, especially, feelings have been, I don't want to say demonized, but when all the time we're growing up and we see someone who has intense emotions, intense reactions to things, there's almost this shameful reaction, like, oh, that's just, even when you were kids, we were crying about something, our feelings are hurt. Maybe we got physically hurt. You better stop crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about, and hopefully not all of us have that experience, but I know I did. A lot of my friends have the same thing, is that when we're trying to express our feelings, our hurt feelings, our sadness, whatever it was, even our pleasure about something, we were shamed and quieted. And so a lot of us shut down not only our feelings, but our attention to them, our willingness to allow the feelings. So learning how to connect again with that is so important, not just for shamanic journey, but for every aspect of our lives, to really get in touch with our feelings, because they're not bad. And yes, some things feel bad, but if we allow ourselves to actually feel it, it's just like weather. It's just like a rainstorm. It'll move through us rather quickly if we allow it. So getting into the heart portal. And I like this graphic on here because this toroidal energy is actually how science has measured the way energy moves through us. And they have proven now that there is this field of electromagnetic energy that goes out at least 8 feet in diameter around our bodies from our heart center. And what is that? Well, that is your subtle senses at work. The heart has neurons and it can process information just like the brain. So as this field of electromagnetic energy is going out and sensing everything, these are your subtle senses. It's like walking into a room and knowing, wait a minute, what's going on in here? You immediately sense there's something going on in the room, even though you haven't been in the room, but you feel something. That's your heart feeling it and telling you, whoa, something's going on here. And it's the same with a situation. If you're walking home at night from a party and someone's following you and you just get that, like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. And sometimes you're walking and everything's fine, because there's nothing telling you, uh-oh, look out, right? To be protected. And even that, we think of fight or flight, but our subtle senses are always at work to tell us, hey, look over here, pay attention to this, feel this. And so getting in touch with that, and getting into the heart portal, and knowing that your heart is always reaching out to the environment around you, and that these subtle senses are what informs our psychic senses, the clair sense, the clairs, then we are more willing to engage with our heart and our feelings as we do all of our spiritual work. And it just enhances all of these gifts and abilities that tap into the other realms and dimensions, because our physical senses are only geared, or most of the time geared, to just this 3D physical world, but our subtle senses can tap into all of it. And those are the senses we're going to use when we go into a shamanic journey. So if you remember that your heart portal is divine, and it's part of your divine essence, and this energy field around you is that divine energy, then and you can use your imagination to see it, to picture it around you, because we're going to be talking about the imagination and what a powerful part it plays in this whole experience. Any questions on the heart portal? Okay. So before we do this work, before I do any of my spiritual work, I always invoke protections. And it's just like gearing up properly to go out in the wilderness, right? You're not going to just go out there in your shorts and your flip-flops. You're going to make sure you have, maybe long pants to protect you against thorns or sticky plants or mosquitoes. Maybe you'll have a hat for the sun. Any number of things to protect yourself. Same when we're doing this work. We want to call in our protections, and that can be anything. This is just an example on the slide of an invocation that I do to call in my divine presence and energy, and knowing that I'm protected. We make declarations of sovereignty and protection. You can call in Yeshua or Jesus or Mother Mary or Archangel Michael, whoever your protector is. Call them in and know that they're the gatekeeper while you're doing this work. That way you can go into it with a relaxed mind and then a relaxed heart, because you're safe and protected. And so I always advise we do this step, and we'll do it before we do our practice. I will remind you to call in your protections. And I've called in protections before I opened Zoom today. So we're already in a beautiful protective energy ball. I usually see it as a sphere of light that we do this work in. So this is an important step of the process to allow you to fully go into it without fear. The illustration I have here, it's a poorly drawn crystal, but imagine yourself, if you want, that you're encased in a crystal of light as a protection, and that crystal is helping to transmit this energy from the earth down at the bottom, this earth, beautiful feminine energy from the earth, to the cosmic energy up at the top, up into, the cosmos. That's the little constellation up there, to connect with our the sacred masculine and sacred feminine energies that work through us and meet in the heart portal. And you can just imagine yourself encased in a crystal or a bubble of light, or however that works for you. So I just added this little illustration as a way to use your imagination to imagine yourself being fully protected. Any questions on that?
I have a question. So like, I don't know if I'm not taking it seriously enough, but I've only felt like bad energy like once or twice. And I just put my hand on my solar plexus and I just say no, and it goes away. I mean, that's all I ever do. And do I need to pay more attention, or?
No, that's perfect, because as long as so it's very interesting. When I first did my shamanic training some years ago, we did a practice where we created our own medicine bags, and it was a little leather pouch that we wore always. And you do it in ceremony, and you infuse it with different things that connect to you and your feelings and your sense of self and protection. And we were taught by our teacher to wear that medicine bag all the time, that it is your protection. And there was one point, some months after I'd done the medicine bag, and I'd been wearing it every day, and I wanted to take it off. And I asked my guides, I'm like, can I take this off? And they asked me, do you feel protected when you wear it? And I said, yes. And they said, then it's a prop. And I went, what? And they said, it's your thoughts that protect you. If you use that and you know, okay, I'm wearing it, I'm protected, that knowing that you're protected is what protects you. And then the medicine bag was a prop. So my mind would say, I'm protected. Because as soon as you declare I'm protected, you're protected. And the medicine bag was a prop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do I need to do more? But I guess you're right, because I just feel like, you know what? Nothing's going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And if it does, I just say no. And it like immediately goes away.
Yeah, because you're sovereign. And that's it. When you say no, that's actually declaring your sovereignty. It's like, no, nothing's here but me, just my energy. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah. It's
just
our
wondering if I'm
knowing.
missing something.
Yeah, I think until we get to that point where we know that our declaration is enough, and declarations in and of themselves are incredibly powerful. So the declaration that I am safe, I am protected, I am a pillar of light, nothing can penetrate this.
It's no work at all. It's just like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on protections or declarations? All right. So what is a shamanic journey exactly? We've touched on it a little bit. So the journey happens when we engage when we engage our knowing in a way that allows our consciousness to leave our body. And that might sound scary, but it's really not. We do it every night when we dream. And even if you don't remember your dreams, you're dreaming. So we do this all the time, and we've done it since we came into a physical body, because our spirit, our soul is energy. It's pure energy. And yes, it's animating this body and it's doing all of this. But when our body is resting, the soul, the spirit is still active, and it wants to engage with all the allies it has, our friends, our loved ones, our teachers on the other side, our guides, our pets, our consciousness, our soul, our spirit wants to travel. So journey is a way of doing it consciously, of doing it in a way where you're lucid enough to know what's going on. Because oftentimes, unless you practice lucid dreaming, it's very difficult in the dream to actually change the course of what's happening. You have to learn how to become lucid, or if you're lucky enough to be easily lucid in a dream, then you can change the course. Well, it's kind of the same in a journey. We're consciously dreaming. And so like the Aborigines talk about that, right? When they would, they journey with the didgeridoo, and they go into the dream time, which is their consciousness moving to that other place. Or they talk about how this is the dream time, and that's the real time, when they leave the dream time to go into that other state. And it feels real, especially if you allow your imagination to engage you to step through that portal. So leaving your body intentionally through shamanic journey is done by engaging in altered brainwave state. And then we can go and allow our astral or spirit body to travel to all these different realms to get information, direct revelation, to have an understanding of what possibilities lay before me, what are the probabilities and what are the possibilities based on where I am right now. We can look at that whole spectrum and then choose a course and see what needs to happen for that course to become a probability rather than just a possibility. All of these different things, retrieving lost soul parts. And this is a shamanic practice that goes back tens of thousands of years, where each of us, especially as we're growing up, we have traumatic events sometimes, and or even as adults, right? We can have a bad accident or we lose a loved one, and to process that grief, usually what happens is a part of our soul will break away to take that grief so we can continue to function day to day without kind of losing our sense of self or our sense of purpose. So soul retrieval is a shamanic ceremony to bring back these lost soul parts and bring them back and let them be remembered. We remember them. We bring them back and connect back to them. So that can be done through shamanic journey. And then you can also interact with shamanic or helper spirits on different things. So you can ask big questions like, how do we cure this? And how can I invent this thing that does it? And you can actually gain that information through a shamanic journey. So it's an incredible portal to bring higher consciousness and understanding into our conscious 3D minds. Any questions on that? So we kind of touched on that. Why would we embark on that? To do all those things. It is a safe and powerful tool for self-transformation. And for me, it's been incredible to do, and I talked about it in the interview on with Camille, that I did a 21-day shamanic journey process where every day for 21 days, I did a shamanic journey and I wrote down these experiences, and incredible, powerful self-transformation happened through that process. And sometimes it's difficult because they will show you those other aspects of self when you're doing that, because you're asking, how can I move through this? And this is what's in your way. They'll show you those obstacles that we've put in our way through our belief system or fear or any of those things. They will show that very clearly, and then how to move through it. It provides that kind of guidance for those life challenges. It gives you an opportunity to connect deeper to yourself, to nature, to angels, to your teachers and guides. A lot of people will use shamanic journey to really get to create and establish a relationship with their own guides. And for me, that's been a huge part of why I shamanic journey. I really have deepened my relationship with my guides and my teachers on the other side. And then through all of that process, our perspective on everything changes, and that's growth. So that's why one would embark on a shamanic journey. But how do we get there? So we've talked about altered states and being able to leave the body and conscious dreaming, but how do we do it? So I'm going to teach you shamanic journey the way I was taught by my shamanic teacher. It is not the only way to do it. There is no one right way. And you will inevitably, if you engage in this practice, you will inevitably change it or shift it or tweak it in a way that is more comfortable to you. And that's also beautiful and perfect. This is just one way to get there. And then you will find your own way as you become more familiar with it. So the way that I was taught shamanic journey is, one, we have the shamanic drum beat, which is a monotonous drum beat, and it's pretty fast. And what that monotonous fast drum beat does is it induces an altered brainwave state. Before we actually start with the drum beat, we call in our allies. And the way I was taught, we called in a sacred feminine ally that always shows up on the left side, and a sacred masculine ally that shows up on the right. And this can be anyone in body, so anyone alive or anyone who's crossed over, if they're teachers or gods or goddesses, or maybe you have an affinity to Isis, or maybe, Archangel Michael's the one, and you just want to call them in as your masculine and feminine. Or you can just allow your imagination to bring in whoever wants to come, and just leave, open invitation. And that's a beautiful thing too, because you'll be surprised by who shows up. And then you'll be surprised to find out that the journey that you go on, what part they actually play in that. And it never ceases to amaze me. Oftentimes I just leave that open. When I go into a shamanic journey, I just say, I'm just calling in whoever wants to show up as my allies for this journey, because I already know I'm protected. So whoever shows up, I know is there for my growth, my learning, my journey to understand. And then they show up. And so when they're with you, they're going to help guide you through what you're going to encounter on your journey, or give you perspective on it, ask you questions. And it's having those allies with you allows you to go into it again more relaxed, feeling safe, protected, and ready to engage. So that's how I was taught. We bring the feminine on the left side and the masculine on the right side. And then we do engage our imagination, because you have to imagine them there, right? You may see them. Not everybody's clairvoyant. Like I can easily see, I'm clairvoyant. So that's one of my primary gifts. So I can easily see in my mind's eye who shows up and what it looks like. There are many people who don't have the gift of clairvoyance, and it's very difficult for them to see in their mind's eye who's there, but they can feel and they can know, or they can just imagine, right? You can imagine who you want to be there, and that's okay too. You can imagine exactly who you want to be there with you and call them in. So even if you're not clairvoyant, it doesn't matter. You still have an imagination. This is a very human part of us. Engage your imagination. Call in who you want, or allow your imagination to fill in the blanks, and it will. It's just like free association, when we used to do that thing, call out a word, say day, and so on, say night, right? And you can do that. If you're familiar with the process of automatic writing, you're just writing whatever comes into your mind, and it's the same. Okay, who's showing up? Whatever comes into your mind, trust that. Allow your imagination to fill in the blanks, and then trust what you get. And you will be often very surprised and delighted with the results of that, allowing yourself to trust what comes through. So engaging your imagination to prepare to disembark on your journey. It's the way we were taught was getting into a canoe. But the vehicle or the vessel can be anything you want it to be. It can be, your car. It can be a rowboat. It can be anything you want. But we were taught a canoe because my teacher was taught by Native American elders how to do this, and they always had a canoe. So when I journey, I imagine my canoe, and I always have the same point that I start from, which is oddly where I grew up, in front of my grandma and grandpa's house. It's always there. I don't know why, but there's my canoe. And then I imagine myself getting into the canoe, and my allies are with me. Even if they don't fit in the canoe, it doesn't matter. They're with me in spirit. And I get in my canoe and we journey. So that vehicle or vessel can be anything you want it to be, but imagine yourself getting into a vehicle or vessel as a way to transport you to where you're going to go. Any questions about that? Okay. So we talked about calling in the allies, and another reason that we do that is we're learning how to be in right relationship. Now, the thing about the feminine and the masculine is we both carry these energies. So we talk about feminine and masculine often as gender, but they also represent types of energy. And so what we're doing by having a sacred feminine and a sacred masculine ally is it's also helping us to balance these energies within us and realizing that one is not better than the other, that they have to work together, that the electromagnetic pull of our own heart and our own body and our own spirit and soul is part of this incredible process of being in a 3D world that's all about polarity and duality. This is why we're here, to learn this push and pull, to learn the direct energy of the masculine, the electric, and the receptive magnetic energy of the feminine. And so we call in these allies to be able to work through the balance of this in our lives, because it enhances us. It helps us to be in right relationship, not only with ourselves, right? We're not rejecting any part of ourselves when we learn how to balance these energies. We're not rejecting that part of ourselves that's too direct, too aggressive, too assertive, or that part that we might perceive as weak, as the feminine, that's, you know, too needy, too wanting, right? Those are shadow aspects of the feminine, masculine. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we have to balance these energies within us. So this is one of the reasons that the elders created the process this way, to call in your masculine and feminine allies, so we can learn to balance these energies, not the genders, but the energies within us. So when we find balance, then we become more welcome and opening to both sides of our nature, and it helps us to navigate this 3D world just a little bit easier. Any questions about that? Okay. So this slide is in here. I'm going to provide you a PDF of this slide set. We're not going to go through this now, but this is a really nice breakdown of the masculine and feminine energies and what they represent, including the shadow aspects of both. So we're not going to go through this slide for time, but it's in there. And I do invite you to take a close look at it, so you begin to understand those energies and how we can balance them a little bit more, especially through the journey. Okay. Oh, I see there's a question, sorry. Shamed, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. When, yeah, our feelings, exactly. Thanks, Camille. Okay. So we talked about the drumming. The drumming is used to induce the deep meditative trance-like state. So it's usually 4 to 7 beats per minute. The one that I have is about 4 beats per minute. It's on the low end. And it's constant, and that drum beat will last for about, the track that we're going to be doing today is 15 minutes, but you can get tracks that go up to an hour of this drum beat, and just listening to that drum beat will naturally induce this state. And I want you to think about when you were in the womb, when all of us were in the womb, hearing not only our own heartbeat through the amniotic fluid, but our mother's heartbeat, and we're that beating sound we're used to, and it does promote this altered consciousness state. So it's natural to us. So you don't have to do anything special. This is part of being a human and being in a body. We are tuned to that kind of a beat. So trust that and just listen to the drum beat. If nothing's happening, just focus on the drum beat. Just focus on the drum beat until your imagination starts to engage, until it starts to go, well, what if we do this? And what if we do that? Let your imagination lead the way. But if you're finding that you're stuck and nothing's happening, simply focus on the drum beat. And we'll talk more about that. Now, the other part is when we're doing shamanic journey, because our consciousness is leaving our physical body, I don't want you to worry about getting lost or not coming back. You will come back. So at the end of each drumming track, there is a callback where this very monotonous drum beat stops. And then it becomes a slower cadence. It might stop altogether for a moment and then a slow cadence, or it might be a weird in between, like a boom, 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 boom. There's usually 7. I don't know if this track has it or not, because I have a couple of different ones. And then it'll be really fast, and then back to the 7. And I like when it plays the 7, I think of each one of my chakras, like it's pinging each one of my chakras all the way up and down. So that's one way to go about it. When you're hearing the callback, that's a way to know, okay, it's time to come back to my body. Now, let's see the next one. We're going to talk about altered states, but before we do that, if at any point during the journey you want to come back, it's very simple and very easy. You open your eyes. And we'll talk about using a blindfold to do journey. So if you're going to journey during the day, I do recommend using a blindfold, but even then, open your eyes and move the blindfold. You are not unconscious. You are conscious. You are still awake and alert. You are in an altered brainwave state. So you're having this experience that's separate from your physical body, but your physical body is still there. You're present. You just have to open your eyes if you want to end a journey early. If you feel unsafe, or you feel like, I don't know if I can handle this, or nothing's happening and you want to stop, open your eyes. That's fine too. And then allow yourself to try again at another point. And think about, what happened and what pulled you out of that journey. Think about it, and then allow yourself to try again to work through whatever that is, because that's important. And that in and of itself can be very telling about what kind of personal issues we need to work through to be able to engage our own experience more deeply. Any questions about that? All right, so now we're going to talk about quickly the altered brainwave states. So most of the time when we're conscious, we're in beta. And there is another state that we can often engage, and it's not on here. It's called gamma. Gamma is being like hyperconscious. So gamma is usually when we're really in the flow. So when we were talking earlier, as people were coming on about that zone we can get into where we become very productive and very focused on what we're doing, that's gamma. It's not on here because shamanic journey is about going into a lower frequency. And that might not make sense. And I'll explain it in just a minute, why we go into a lowered frequency to go into a higher state. So beta is when we're conscious, and this is us now as we're engaged, we're here, we're awake. This is our normal state in beta. When you begin to relax and go into a meditative state, you drop into alpha, a little bit lower frequency. This is 13 here, 13 to 25, 25 being on the high end. And then we go into alpha, relaxed state, deep relaxation. And then if you continue on that, the hypnagogic is down in the deep meditation state. This is theta. So a lot of times they say theta is the one you want to get to a shamanic journey, but it's actually this beautiful hybrid between alpha and theta. Now, you don't want to go as far as delta. That's deep sleep, which is lovely. And sometimes we need the deep sleep, but to do a shamanic journey, you want to stay right here between alpha and theta. And it's not that you have to consciously engage that. If you start to feel like you're falling asleep in a journey, which I've done, I think we've all done that, especially if we're tired, we become so deeply relaxed and we go into a deep theta, and it's very easy to go into deep sleep from there. Try to bring your awareness back to what's going on. Again, focus on the drumbeat. That will bring you back to your more alert state where you want to be able to engage your imagination in the journey. But this is where we fall. And why do we talk about this? We talk about this because I really want you to understand that there is this scientific relationship between shamanic journey and what happens with our physical body when we do this. The drumbeat induces theta. So we want to get to that nice light theta where it's right on the border between alpha and theta, and the drumbeat will do that. So this is where shamanic journey will happen. It's the hypnagogic state. So any questions about that? Okay, so I did want to say, you notice how the frequencies drop, and then we talk about you need a high vibration to do this work, a high vibration. Where's the disconnect? There isn't one. So if you think about it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to relax the physical body to a point that it drops into this low frequency range, because then it kind of frees our consciousness. Now our consciousness goes to the higher vibrational state. So we want to relax the physical body because it's our consciousness that we're doing the higher vibration with, not our physical body, not when we're doing shamanic journey work. Now, if you want to raise your physical vibration, then dancing and music and humor and all of those things will bring up the vibration of your physical body, and you'll go into a high beta or a gamma state, which is lovely when you're fully awake. But when you're doing meditation, we want the body to drop to a lower frequency so the consciousness can go to a higher frequency. Does that make sense? I see a question. Yeah, exactly. Camille often drops into Delta very easily. I've done that too. I have. I don't know if I'm not getting enough sleep, but yeah. And that can be the practice, is learning how not to get so relaxed that we drop to sleep. And that can take practice too, because allowing ourselves to drop into a relaxed state, we don't do that. But the more practice, the easier it gets. So engaging the imagination. Do not be afraid to engage your amazing, incredible imagination. And you might be saying, my imagination is not that incredible. It is. I want you to think about it when we're kids, how we could play and imagine any scenario when we're playing with our dolls or with the trucks or whatever it was we were playing with. Our imagination is incredible, but the older we got, the less so we actually engaged with it. And unless it was like fantasies, right? Maybe we have those beautiful sexual fantasies, or, and there's nothing wrong with that. All of that is engaging the imagination, or we engage our imagination like, oh, if I could only do this thing, I want to become, this or that, whatever it is, and we see it, we imagine it, what would that look like? Oh, I'm going to win the lottery. What would that look like? What would I buy? How would I use that money to enhance my life? Right? You're engaging your imagination. You're going to do that with your journey as well. And don't be afraid to do that, because what happens often is like, oh, I'm just imagining this. There's nothing wrong with that. Your imagination is the gateway not only to your heart and your feelings, but also to your higher consciousness. And so use your imagination to see yourself getting into whatever vehicle or vessel you're going to journey in. Use your imagination to either picture or know who's with you as your allies. The other part of it, getting ready for a journey, is like gathering up gifts. I usually imagine myself gathering up flowers and fruit and nuts and putting them in the canoe, and I will give those as offerings at the end of my journey to thank my teachers and allies that showed up. So engage your imagination in all parts of that, and seeing yourself doing that. Calling in your power animals. If you are familiar with any of your power animals, use your imagination to do that. Call them in, see them there, or just know that they're there when you call them in, and they can go on the journey with you. Engage the imagination, because what it does and how we experience the journey, it really uses the imagination. So like visions, clairvoyant, right? Being able to see what I am imagining, and then allowing that to kind of take me to something that is more than I could have imagined. Same with sound. You might hear maybe song lyrics, or hear phrases, or hear words. I do have clairaudience, but I usually get short things. My twin sister, she is not as clairvoyant. She only has some visions, but her primary gift is clairaudience. She hears everything her guides say. And outside of her, like, not, I hear them in here in my thoughts, she hears them here. So however, we all have different gifts. However they show up is perfect. And you don't need to be like anybody else. You don't need to strive to, oh, I wish I had that gift or that. No, engage your gifts. Be welcome to that, because the more you do it, actually, the more all of them will kind of open up, because again, these are your subtle senses that are connected to our physical senses. And the more that we engage with our heart portal and that energy that lights up our subtle senses, the more these other ones will kind of come online. So let that be a beautiful part of the experience, as each one of these gifts kind of unfolds and shows itself to you. And it doesn't have to be any particular way. And remembering that the journey, because even though we're engaging the imagination, we cannot control the journey mentally. We can't tell it it's going to be, we're doing this, we're going here, this is what's going to happen. No, we engage the imagination. All right, I'm here, I'm prepared, I have all these things, lead me, show me. My intention is I want to know more about this, but show me, right? It's just like asking your teacher a question. Tell me about this. I want to know this. I want to understand. The teachers on the other side is your higher self, your guides, the angels, whoever, maybe it's nature spirits, maybe it's the elements. Engage them, let them show you. Don't control it mentally. Okay. And it may take practice, and that's okay. That's the fun part. So there are different steps to going on the journey. Let's see where we are in time. Okay, we're coming up. We're almost done with the slides, and then we'll go into a practicum. So this is the more step-by-step, because we talked about calling in your guides and allies, but you also want to find a comfortable place where you won't be disturbed for 15 to 30 minutes or however long you decide to journey for. Not being disturbed is really important, right? Because you don't want to be brought out of that state once you get there. If you want to get a blindfold, I do recommend it. I found them to be very helpful. They help keep me in that state, especially in this particular room. We're right on a road, so car lights come in even at night when I'm journeying. Car lights come in, and they can be very distracting. So I actually found this great blindfold, and I don't know, because I have the blur on the video, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well, but it's my husband calls it an eye bra because it's padded, kind of like a padded bra. But what's nice is it's got these cups that cover your eye without pressing down on the eye. So even in the journey, you can open your eyes, but it's going to be completely dark because it's got this lovely shield around your nose. And these are great. You can get them 2-pack on Amazon. They're like $12. And I'll provide the link to that if you want. It's really comfortable. It's adjustable. It's a great thing to have when you're journeying, especially during the day, because it blocks out that light, or at night if you feel that there's going to be lights that can distract you or bring you out of your journey. Get your drum track prepared, and I'll also provide you links to some drum tracks, and some of the people, like the one we're listening to, the drum track we're listening to today is Michael Drake, but there's drum tracks by several people, but I like Michael Drake's. They're very good. Then call in your allies. Make sure you're there. Think of what your intention is. Why are you journeying? Are you having a journey just to see what happens? I do that often. I'll go into a journey with no particular intention. I just want to engage with my allies and see what they have to share with me, what they want to tell me, what they want to show me. Or I can go in saying, I really want to understand this particular thing. Maybe you're having a relationship dynamic that isn't working for you, and you're trying to figure out, how do I navigate this? Or maybe you want to, again, get to know your guides more, or you want to meet your guides. You can set that intention at the beginning. So these are all ways we get prepared. And then the other is the gifts and the flowers and things. Just imagining that you have them to give them as an offering at the end is more than enough. Just that intention, it's beautiful. And then we embark on it. So we start the drum track, and then we engage our breath. And we come back to the breath. And then when we're breathing, we want to breathe through the nose, in and out. So oftentimes they'll do that loud exhale through the mouth. But my teachers have said the mouth is for eating, the nose is for breathing. Now, sometimes that can be difficult if we have sinus issues, to be able to breathe in and out through the nose. If that doesn't work, that's fine. Go ahead and breathe however you can to bring in a full breath. But engage your diaphragm. You want to be able to relax your diaphragm to pull the air down into the lower part of the lungs, because most of the time when we bring in a breath, we're only filling up the top part of the lungs. If we relax our diaphragm, then actually the air is pulled down into the lower parts of the lungs. And then to push it out, you kind of just pull your diaphragm in, like from the navel. Imagine your navel coming back to your spine, to kind of pull the diaphragm in, and it pushes the air out. So you do want to engage your diaphragm for these deep breaths. And you only have to do maybe 3 to 6 deep breaths in the beginning to kind of just bring in that prana, that chi, that beautiful life force energy. Imagine you're bringing in and you're engaging your heart. Nice deep breaths to start, and then go into a relaxed breathing state, listening to the drum beat. So this is how we embark. Know your allies are with you. Imagine them on either side. Your power animals, if they're there, great. Your vessel can be anything. Think of your intention, and then bring your awareness to the drumming track. And then trust that whatever you get is perfect. If nothing happens, even that can be perfect, because you've just given yourself 15 to 30 minutes of true relaxation. There's nothing wrong with that. So even if nothing happens on the journey, don't give up. Try it again, because sometimes it's a matter of just letting our mental chatter or our wanting to do it right to get out of the way. So that's how we embark. And then I highly, highly recommend you record everything that you experience on a journey, everything, because much like dreams, all of those sweet details fade quickly. So as soon as you're done with the journey, provide yourself enough time. So like I often will only do a 15-minute journey, which is, believe it or not, plenty of time, especially if you become very practiced. 15 minutes, you will learn a lot in a 15-minute journey. And then I give myself 15 minutes to write everything down, because I often refer to those notes, and I'm always surprised when I read them back, because there are details that I've already forgotten. But then when I go back and read it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so incredible and important. And then you'll start to see the synchronicities of the beautiful teachings that come through in a journey. So always, always, if you can, write it down or voice record it. You know, you can just turn on your voice recorder on your phone and record it that way. And there are transcription services, so you can turn it into writing if you want to, but record it somehow. You will be really glad you did, because you'll listen back or read back those journeys later and be fascinated by what came through and the learning and everything that's happened from that point. So I highly recommend you record everything. Any questions about that? So again, things that get in the way, the critical mind. Am I doing it right? Did I do all the right steps? You did or you didn't, that's okay. Allow yourself to be there and be present. Don't deny yourself permission to be present. Don't be overthinking if you can help it. I know sometimes I overthink too. Sometimes I just have to go, nope, and I focus on the drum beat. Denying yourself permission to use or engage your imagination. Let yourself engage it. It's not cheating. This is exactly the way we get there. Use your imagination. Don't be afraid of losing control. You can't. You're present. You're there. If you encounter something scary, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Understand that this is an aspect of you that needs to be healed. And that if you approach it that way, if you encounter something scary and then you consciously are aware, okay, this is an aspect of me that needs to be healed, you will allow yourself to be present and learn from the experience rather than to retreat and come out of it. And growth happens when we are willing to be courageously present. And you can't do it wrong, right? We've been doing this since we were in the womb. You can't do it wrong. Just listen to the drum beat. I always come back to that. Listen to the drum beat. And believing that you don't have a gift to journey, or you're not clairvoyant enough, or whatever, you are. We all know how to do this. It's remembering. It's allowing ourselves to fully remember this. That's sometimes the hardest part, but you know how to do it. So let that thought go so you can be present and just go, oh yeah, I'm just remembering. Okay. So about the shadow aspects. So shadow is what is blocked from the light. It is not evil. It's not bad. It is that which needs to be illuminated. And once it's illuminated, it's transformed. So you think about a dark room, right? If it's completely black in a room, it's scary. But the moment you turn on the light, oh, okay, I know what I'm looking at. Everything's fine. It's the same with these aspects of self. Sometimes they're hidden from us because it's trauma, it's hurtful, it's pain, it's grief, it's any of these things that we don't want to look at. And when we're not looking at them, they're not illuminated. So sometimes they show up in our dreams, and they can show up as something scary, or maybe we're being chased by someone scary in a dream. And that's in a dream, that means our past is wanting to be healed. Something in our past is pursuing us to be healed. And my dream teacher, Michael Sheridan, if you're familiar with him, if you're not, look him up. He's amazing. Dream-analysis.com. he talks about, and he told me one time, he says, next time you're chased in a dream, because it happened to me often, because if you can be lucid enough, turn around and face whoever's chasing you, either, what do you want? And he says, you'll be surprised by what happens. So sure enough, the next time I had a chasing dream, I was running, I was scared. And then I had a moment of being lucid enough that I went, wait, I need to turn and face them and ask them. And I turned and, what do you want from me? And I was being chased by two men in the dream, and they both stopped and put their hands in their pockets and started whistling and looking around. And it transformed. I never had never had a dream being chased again. It transformed it in that moment. I was willing to turn and face it. Well, the same is true with shamanic journey. If you encounter something that's scary in your journey, it's an aspect of you that needs to be healed. And we were talking about when we did teaching at Pam's house for shamanic journey, one of the attendees of that session remembered this guidance. So when she was in her journey, she encountered something that was big and scary, like a monster. And I told her, like, if you find something like that, go hug it. So she did. She went and hugged it. And when she did, it turned into flowers. So it's incredibly powerful practice to be able to face what seems scary to us. But if we know that it's an aspect of us that's just simply asking to be healed, and we can show the compassion, we can feel the compassion for that part of us that needs to be healed, then when we encounter something like that in the journey, we're less likely to be afraid and turn from it. We'll turn toward it. And when we do, we heal. And that's what's so powerful about this work. So consider your intention, even that you set at the beginning of the journey, and see how this shadow aspect might be connected to that. And even that may surprise you and put you in awe of your own inner awareness of what needed to be healed. So do not be afraid of the shadow aspects. If you encounter something scary, two things: you know you're protected, you're safe. And the second, you know it's a part of you. So turn toward it with love and compassion, and you will heal it. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. So we talked on the agenda, we talked about direct revelation. So this is what's really powerful about shamanic journey. It is an opportunity to directly interact with divine aspects, whether it's Jesus or Yeshua, Mother Mary, God, source, whatever you want to call it. Yes, you can. And I've had some incredibly loving, powerful, transformative experiences by connecting with the divine directly through shamanic journey. Allow yourself, to practice to get there, but it will happen. It's there, and it wants to engage with you. That's the other part of it. It wants to engage with you too. And when that happens and you feel the benevolence of the message and of the connection, it will change you, and for the most beautiful, in the most beautiful ways. So this is why shamanic journey is such a powerful practice, because unlike certain types of meditation where you're emptying your mind, this is engaging you and your higher consciousness in a way that not only brings you information and understanding, but also connects you to your own divine essence through these beautiful divine beings that we are the most familiar with and most called to. So, and I love this, the revealing or disclosing of some form of truth or knowledge through communication with a deity or other supernatural entity or entities. That's what direct revelation is. And it's possible through shamanic journey. So now we're going to do a practice, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment. And so before we do this, I want to give you each just a few minutes if you need to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water, get comfortable for just a moment. I'm going to pause the recording. I forgot to record the drumming track, but I'll send it to you. I'll send a link to you so you'll have it. So then the recording will be a little bit shorter. So welcome back, everyone.
Hi. I stayed awake.
You did?
Yeah.
I was actually engaging my guides to tickle your nose and keep you awake.
And they were because I was scratching my nose. I was like, why am I scratching my nose?
I'm glad it worked, but I hope it wasn't too distracting.
No, it wasn't.
Awesome. So I know we're at time, but I'm here as long as you need. If anybody wants to share, or if they want to questions, we didn't really get a chance to ask a lot of questions. If there are questions or thoughts about it, I would love to hear all about it. And
May I share?
yes, please.
So I heard, after a while, I heard some chanting, almost like singing, but it was chanting. And then I heard a flute-like sound. And then I got a very clear message. It said, "You have so much to give." And then a song lyric from the 90s came in, and it's either "Write your name across my heart" or "Write my name across your heart. I want you to be my baby."
I love that. That's so beautiful, Allison. Thank you for sharing.
It was lovely.
That's huge. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did that align with the intention that you said at the beginning?
I asked to meet my guides, to see my guides, and I don't know if I saw them, but I certainly heard them. And I had I've never heard the term before, the clair, what is it when you hear with your ears?
Clairaudient.
Yeah, clair, I've never had that before, and I did.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you so, so very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the leap. I love it. Anybody else have an experience they want to share?
I do. It was a little bit profound, I guess. My husband died 7 years ago. And so I know that there's no such thing as time and space. And I'm like, well, why didn't you run out the clock, for crying out loud? Right? Bastard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened was, what I got was that he came in, and if he hadn't died when he did, I wouldn't have this second part of my life. I've now recoupled again. And so what I saw was a triad with us. And if he had died, say 10 years later or 15, would I want to even recouple, because that would make me almost 80. And I really saw that with him leaving early, that this was a gift for this part of my life. And this triad, there's something with the three of us. I don't quite get it, but there's definitely something there. And I've always known, even before he died, that there would be two big loves of my life. And so I finally am not so angry about, why didn't you just run out the damn clock, right? If there's no time and space, right?
That's the healing. That's huge.
Yeah, it really kind of is. And I've never seen it that way before. I really haven't. And so thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you. You gave me chills. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, I've never seen that before. So, and then, I've got two grandsons that are 7 months old, and he wasn't there for that. And I did get before that he was with them before they came in. He'd been with both of them. So, anyway, so it takes a lot off my mind.
I'm so glad.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Are there any other questions about shamanic journey or, shamanism or any of this wild stuff? Okay, well, then I will let you have the rest of your day. I will be sending this recording to you in a link in an email along with the drumming track because we didn't capture it on the recording. So you'll have a 15-minute drum track to practice with. I'll also provide you with some links. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. I'll also provide you with links to other drum tracks, to those wonderful the blindfolds if you feel at all interested in getting them to journey with, and the slide set, a PDF of the slides that I showed today, so you can have those to refer back to if you want. So thank you all so much for your time, for your energy, for your beautiful magic. I'm so grateful to each of you, and I'm grateful to Camille that she opened the portal for this through her own incredible summit of ancient healing. This is definitely ancient healing. It falls right in there. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm so grateful. Have a great day, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.